Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are looking at the brand new Nars foundation. So this is just launched at Mecca Maxima in Australia and it's officially called, I have to read this, the Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. Now this is said to be better than Sheer Glow. Now I know people love Sheer Glow, but for me it just wasn't one that worked for me. I found that it pulled in my pores. I feel like it just made me look cakey all the time. It's really strange, right? So I'm hoping that this brand new formula actually does work for me. So I'm just reading from my notes here, but according to Nars, this is a weightless foundation, so it's supposed to be very light in terms of how it feels. It has long-lasting coverage. In fact, it says it's supposed to last for 16 hours without fading, without it's sweat proof apparently, which is fantastic for our summers. It is supposedly full coverage and oil free, which are all really great things. Now, as someone who is over 30, well over 30, what I look for in a foundation is something that doesn't, like, it's supposed to make my skin look better, okay? So I don't want it creasing into fine lines, particularly around my eyes. I don't want my pores to be more visible. I don't want to look like every bit and bump and part of my skin is exaggerated. I want to hide those things. I have to say right off the bat, this is a very expensive foundation. So it's $71 for your standard 30 mils, but apparently it's very, very highly pigmented and you don't need to use much of it to get a full face. So if that's the case, if you're using, let's say, half the amount of a cheaper foundation, then it all works out in the end. I am very happy to say that there are 33 shades available. So Nars are really great at very, very, very light foundations, and they are pretty good at going into deep foundations as well. I believe the darkest in this range is, I want to say, espresso, which is quite dark, but of course there's always room for improvement. One of the things that I'm very, very impressed with is that it does come with a pump. Yay for foundation pumps. So we're going to go ahead and apply the foundation. Obviously I've got the foundation on, you know how things work. I've already filmed that. So go ahead and have a look at how this applies. There were some road bumps along the way and I will be checking in to see how it goes throughout the day. So let's apply it now. I've prepped my skin by putting on the Marc Jacobs Coconut Primer all over my face. And then I used some of the Cover FX Blurring Primer just on my nose and on my cheeks here where I seem to have the largest pores. And we're gonna go ahead and use two different methods of applying this foundation. Now, Nars generally suggests that you use your fingers to apply foundation. Now, I am gonna do that for half of my face, but I just don't use fingers anymore. So I'm going to use my Beauty Blender on the other side of my face just to see how it compares. I assume that the Beauty Blender is going to give a lot more coverage. In the notes for this product, it does say that too much product will cause the accentuation of fine lines. And if I haven't mentioned this already, I am in the shade Fiji. The instruction says to apply one pump, warm up in the fingers. This feels so weird. And then work from the center of the face outwards. They also say not to apply too much of the product near the eyes, and I assume that's because it will most likely accentuate lines if you do apply too much of it. It is very, I mean, I suppose if you're not used to using fingers for foundation like me, although I used to, it's very, very spreadable and you are going to get a lot out of just one pump of foundation. Alright, so that's one layer there using my fingers on this side of my face. I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit more. This does say it's a full coverage foundation, so I would expect a little bit more from the foundation than this. I can see that it does look kind of noticeable on my nose, and it could be just because I do have large pores there, but it also could be dryness. But let's see how we go with a little bit more foundation. The colour's actually pretty good. I was afraid it was going to be a little bit dark. So again, starting from the centre of the face and just blending it outwards. Okay, so it has built up. It does feel very, very tacky and wet, but I will be powdering this anyway, so that's okay. I've still got a little bit left on my hand, so I'll apply that to the Beauty Blender. And then roughly 1.5 pumps on this side of my face. And let's go from the center out. So the product is oil-free, but it feels quite nourishing to the skin. My skin feels very like moisturized. As expected, it does get more coverage with the Beauty Blender, and I can see on this side, I'm not sure you're going to pick it up, but on this side here where I've tried to blend it out with my fingers, it looks like there's too much product there. I'm going to blend that out a little bit as well because it just doesn't look great. Yeah, unless this darkens as it dries, I think this is a really good colour match. Alright, so immediate first impressions are that for me personally, I'm going to use a sponge. I know that they want to go over this side as well just to even it out a bit, but I know they do recommend fingers, but it just doesn't look like, just using one layer with my fingers doesn't give me enough coverage personally for what I like. And two, makes it look a little bit too, I don't know, too thick, and it's showing up a bit of texture on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and just from now on use a Beauty Blender to apply. Because that's just my preferred method, and I suppose for anyone else who does use a Beauty Blender, this is a pretty good test to see how it goes. But definitely very blendable. It's not like absolutely flawless, but it does cover a lot. You can still see my freckles are all showing through. Let's have a look at this in some natural light. So this is what I look like. So my skin looks without the light on. Big difference, right? It's the lies of the internet. Not too bad. It does, it definitely doesn't fill in pores. My pores are still noticeable even though I use that blurring primer. Okay, so I'm going to jump off camera and I'm going to do the rest of my makeup and I'll be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and finished my makeup, and I've actually used quite a lot of Nars products today, but I don't have like everything in Nars. So for example, I used the Peach Perfect powder from Too Faced, but then I did use the soft, what are they called? Soft Matte Complete Concealers for under my eyes. On my skin, I used Linguine as the bronzer, which is just a classic, Gilda as a blush, and Albatross as highlighter. On my eyes, I used the new Wanted palette, which there's a review on this channel, and I will link that for you down below. I then went ahead and used the brand new Bad Gal Bang from Benefit, and then I used the shade Bridget in the Audacious lipsticks just to finish everything off. So I finished all my makeup, looked at myself in the mirror, and I thought, oh my gosh, I look so dry, I look so textured. So I went ahead and I used the Scandinavia finishing spray, and it's looking a little bit better, but it's still looking like in the light here, I'm not sure. Again, I'll turn off the light so you can see, but I'm not sure if you can see, but it's just not done a lot to hide that texture. Around my cheeks and my nose, again, I will take you, when we get in the car or something, I'll show you what it looks like, but the pores are very, very visible. I have to say I'm not loving the way I look at the moment. It doesn't, like, I don't look at myself and go, oh yes, I'm having a brilliant skin day. Every pore is visible. My under eyes are looking a little bit creasy. So I'm not sure if that's the foundation or the concealer, but yeah, that's not great. All right, so we'll leave it there. I'll do a couple of check-ins along the way. It's roughly 1 o'clock at the moment. Okay, so I totally got ahead of myself. It's actually not even 1 now, and I applied it about half an hour ago. So I just wanted to show you, I guess, what I was talking about in terms of what it looks like on my skin. It's very scary to get this close up to the camera, but I just wanted to show you sort of what it looks like on my nose particularly. I think it looks a little dry and clinging to every little spot. I did, like I said, apply quite a moisturizing primer on before using this, so it really shouldn't look dry. But yeah, so it's been roughly half an hour. It's just about 1 now. I think it's just before 1. And yeah, so let's say that I applied it roughly 12:30. I finished it. It is 4:40, which means I've had the foundation on for 4-ish hours, maybe a little bit more. I don't know if you can see in this light, but my pores are very, very visible, and from afar everything looks okay, but there are definitely some oils showing through, but my main concern is that I am looking like the foundation has pooled in my pores, and everything is looking just a little bit like it's not a great skin day. Can you see the tip of my nose there? It's just showing up all the texture. It does look okay, like on the perimeters of my face. On my forehead you can see, this lighting is crazy, but on my forehead you can see that there is like the bumps are showing through, the redness is showing through. I don't think I would classify this as a full coverage. I feel like it's a medium, and I have gotten greasy despite powdering quite well. So that's my update after 4 hours, and I will see you again now. So this is my final check-in, and I really wanted to like this. I spent $71 on it. I was hoping that this was going to be the first Nars foundation that really worked for me. So this is only 1 day's wear. I understand that. I will try it a couple of more times to see whether or not I can get something to work for me. Basically, the only place or the only part of my face that's still kind of intact is just this area here, where it's sort of a little bit more, it's still a little bit more matte, and the powders are still there. The tip of my nose has completely worn off. I haven't even really been blowing my nose or touching my nose all that much. The oil has completely broken up on my forehead. We've got glasses marks here from when I was wearing sunnies today. It's just completely broken up. Here are what the claims were. So, weightless, I agree with that. Long-lasting coverage, it's looking like a hot mess. Today was not particularly warm. I didn't do anything strenuous. Like, I was just, yeah, so it's really strange that something, that it's broken up this much, and it just seems to have shifted everywhere. My pores are like, it's almost like there's no foundation left on my nose except for in my pores, where you can see that the foundation's there. It's really disappointing. Full coverage, I still don't think it's full coverage. Oil-free, that might be the case. Sweat-proof and fade-proof, not for me. So yeah, so I did purchase this myself. I'm not sure if I'm going to return it or not. I think I will try it again tomorrow. Hey guys, I wanted to give you a quick update. I'm trying the foundation out again today. After filming all of my video, I had a look online, and so many people love this foundation, so I thought it must be the way I'm applying it. It must be something like that. So I've applied it today very, very minimally. I used 2 pumps for my whole face. I used my fingers only. I haven't powdered yet. I'm about to go ahead and do the rest of my makeup. I'm going to just bring you up close to show you that it is still pooling in my pores, not as badly as it did last time, but it still is very, very visible on my nose. I didn't use any primer all over my face. The only thing I used today was the Tarte Clean Slate Timeless Smoothing Primer on my nose to see whether that could fill in the pores and then let the foundation sit a lot better on my nose. But so far, no bueno, but let's have a look. I'm going to check in today very, very quickly just to see if there's any major differences. I still think I'm going to return this, but let's have a look. So here's an update. I'm just about to leave the house, so I've had the foundation on for about 10 minutes. I want to insert a photo here of what I'm talking about when I talk about my nose. So on my cheeks where I've applied no primer, it still looks very like pores galore, which is not usual for most foundations. And then on my nose where I've applied just the smallest amount, like a tiny amount of that pore filling primer, it just looks crazy. So look at this photo here. I will check in again very shortly, just to show you how it goes. I feel like it's not me, right? It's not, I applied it exactly as per the directions today. I know I applied a little bit too much last time, so I want to give it a third chance. And by this time, I've worn it on the Saturday, which is when I filmed. I then wore it again on the Sunday with no primer whatsoever, and I did the same thing. And today, I'm wearing it, like I said, just with a minimal primer on my nose. This is now my 3rd day. Hey guys, this is my last check-in. It's about 3:35 in the afternoon, and I just need to take this off because it's driving me crazy. So I basically just had a crappy skin day all day today. If you remember this morning, I put on a very thin layer with only a small amount of primer just on my nose, and it looked, the rest of my face looked okay, but the area here where there are pores which didn't have any primer on it, and my nose which did have primer on it, just looked terrible, if you remember. I also took some photos throughout the day. So You'll see here some photos and some footage that I took at roughly 12:30. It just looks like the foundation has just been eaten by my face. Now when it's about, like I said, 3:35 and I look at it and my skin feels really greasy. On my nose, and I'll take a photo of it so you can see it right here, my pores actually look better now than they did first thing this morning, but I think that's because the foundation's gone. So just to recap, I wore this on Saturday and I did a road test throughout the day, and I probably applied a little bit too much, and I applied primer and powder and just hated it. And then I came home and I watched some videos and I saw how everybody just was raving about it. Australian and non-Australian beauty YouTubers loved it, and so I thought, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. So that first day I used my fingers and a sponge. I preferred the sponge. On Sunday I tried it again, but I didn't film it. I tried it with absolutely no primer. I still used powder on top, and I used the beauty blender. Today I applied primer just to the nose, not to the cheeks, not to the rest of the face, simply to the nose. And it's a primer that usually keeps things very matte and fills in my pores. And I used my fingers, and I used a very little product, and I used a little bit of powder on top just to give a light dusting. And yet again, it still hasn't worked for me. So I think this is a pass. And I feel so, not even guilty, just like disappointed, because I so wanted to like this and I so thought that I would. Okay, so that's that. I am going to try and return this on the weekend. Hopefully, I think I'll only be able to get a credit note because it's been opened, which is absolutely fine with me. I actually broke my no buy by buying this foundation, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that I'll be returning it. So make what you will of this. I strongly suggest, if you want to try this out, that you go and get a sample first, because it obviously doesn't suit every skin, and that's okay. Absolutely no shade thrown at Nars whatsoever. It just didn't work for me. I love Nars and I love a lot of their products. I just haven't been able to find a foundation that works for me from them. So I'm going to take all this off because, like I said, it's just driving me crazy. And yeah, hopefully we have some better luck with another foundation soon. Alright, so thanks so much for watching, and as usual, thanks for coming and joining me in my little corner of the internet. I'll catch you next time. Bye.